Dear Diary, today I walked into the olive grove, and the weight of what's to come settled on me like the heaviest of cloaks. The garden has always been a place of peace. I've come here many nights to pray, to rest, to speak with the Father. But tonight it feels different. The shadows seem heavier. Even the moon feels distant. I left the others at the entrance and brought Peter, James, and John deeper in. They tried to hide their worry, but I could see it in their eyes. They still don't fully understand what's about to happen. I told them, my soul is overwhelmed, crushed with sorrow, even to the point of death. I needed them to stay awake, to pray with me. But their bodies are tired, and their spirits are weaker than they know. So I went a little farther, alone. I knelt on the cold earth. My hands dug into the soil as if trying to hold on to something solid. And I prayed. Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. Not because I want to escape, but because I feel the full weight of what this cup holds. Not just the pain, but the sin, every lie, every act of hatred, every betrayal, the cost of it all. Still, I whispered it again and again. Yet not my will, but yours be done. Dear Diary, today my friends couldn't stay awake, and my sweat fell like blood. I returned and found them sleeping. Peter, who swore he would never leave me. James, who longed to sit beside me in glory. John, who leaned on me at supper just hours ago. They didn't mean to leave me alone. Their bodies gave in. I woke them gently. No rebuke, only sadness. Then I turned back to the Father. The sorrow deepened. I felt it press into me, like waves crashing over my chest. It wasn't fear of the physical pain. It was the full realization that I would carry the weight of separation, of judgment, for sins not my own. And my body responded. Sweat mixed with blood fell to the ground as I cried out. It's a strange thing to feel so fully human while knowing I am also fully divine. Then, in the midst of agony, the Father sent help, an angel. He said nothing, but his presence wrapped around me like light in the darkness. It gave me strength, not to escape, but to endure. I stood. I wiped the earth and blood from my hands. I turned toward the trees. The hour had come. Dear Diary, today I was kissed by a friend and handed over to die. I saw the torches before I heard them, snaking through the grove like fireflies in the night. The stillness broke with the sound of armored feet and whispered orders. Then came Judas. He walked ahead of the soldiers. His eyes found mine. I didn't move. He stepped forward. He kissed me, the sign we once used to show affection, now a signal for my arrest. I called him by name. Still, he didn't look back. The guards reached for me, but Peter couldn't take it. He drew his sword and swung wildly, cutting off the ear of the high priest's servant. But this is not the way. I healed the man. Even now, with the betrayal unfolding, I will not repay violence with violence. I will not stop what must be done. I looked at the crowd. Temple guards, religious leaders, swords and clubs. I asked them why they came like this, as if I were a criminal hiding in the night. I taught openly, healed publicly, and yet they chose the darkness. Still, I surrendered. I let them take me, and my disciples. They ran, all of them. Dear Diary, today they dragged me through the night like a criminal. From the grove, they led me to the house of the high priest. I stumbled more than once, part from fatigue, part from the heavy hands that gripped my arms. Caiaphas was waiting, his face unreadable in the flickering torchlight. The chief priests and elders were already gathered. They'd been preparing this moment for days. They brought in witnesses, liars, twisting my words, contradicting each other. Some claimed I said I would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. I said no such thing in the way they claimed. Through it all, I stayed silent. Then Caiaphas stood and faced me. "Are you the Messiah, the Son of God?" I answered. "You have said so. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power coming on the clouds of heaven." With that, he tore his robe and declared me guilty of blasphemy. The others surged forward, their hatred unchecked. They spit in my face, slapped me, struck me with their fists. "Prophesy to us, Messiah. Who hit you?" they mocked. They covered my eyes. Each blow came without warning, and I said nothing. Dear diary, today I stood before power, but it was too weak to do what was right. At dawn, they brought me to Pilate. They couldn't execute me themselves. Roman law forbade it, so they handed me over like an offering of contempt. Pilate looked at me, and I saw the doubt in his eyes. He questioned me. "Are you the king of the Jews?" I told him, "My kingdom is not of this world." I said very little after that. The accusations flew, but I remained silent. Pilate sent me to Herod, who mocked me and sent me back. No justice there either. Back in the courtyard, the crowd had gathered. Pilate gave them a choice, me or Barabbas, a murderer, a rebel, a man of violence. "Whom shall I release to you?" "Barabbas," they shouted. "Then what shall I do with Jesus, who is called the Christ?" And they cried, "Crucify him." I looked at the people, some of whom I had healed, taught, fed. Their eyes were cold now, their voices united in hatred. Pilate washed his hands. He claimed innocence, but delivered me to death. Dear diary, today they crowned me with thorns. They took me into the governor's quarters. The soldiers surrounded me. They stripped me and placed a scarlet robe over my shoulders. Then came the crown, a twisted circle of thorns, forced onto my head. The pain was sharp, immediate. Blood ran down my face. They put a reed in my right hand and knelt before me in mock worship. "Hail, King of the Jews!" They laughed. Then they spat on me, took the reed and struck me on the head again and again. They mocked and jeered, their hatred pouring out like venom. And I stood there, bloodied, bruised, silent. Not because I couldn't stop them, but because I chose not to. Every insult, every blow, I received it all, for them, and for the ones yet to come. Dear diary, today I walked the road of suffering. They placed the cross on my shoulders, rough, splintered, heavier than words can describe. My back already torn open from the flogging, my body trembling. Each step felt like eternity. The road was lined with people. Some stared, some shouted, some wept. I stumbled. I couldn't go on. They pulled a man from the crowd, Simon of Cyrene. They forced him to carry the cross behind me. As we walked, I saw the women, daughters of Jerusalem, weeping loudly. I turned to them, breath ragged, voice barely above a whisper. "Do not weep for me, but for yourselves and your children." They didn't understand yet what was coming, but I still spoke, not to curse, but to warn, to love. The path ended at a hill called Golgotha, the place of the skull. I looked up. The sky was still bright, but not for long. Dear diary, today they nailed me to the cross. They laid me down and stretched out my arms. No mercy in their eyes, only routine. I felt the iron drive through my wrists, then my feet. I did not cry out, not because it didn't hurt, it did, but because I chose this. I embraced it. They lifted the cross and dropped it into place. My body jolted. My lungs fought for air. Two others hung beside me, criminals. One hurled insults, the other believed. He said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And I answered him with a promise of paradise. Below me, soldiers cast lots for my clothes. The crowd mocked, "If you are the Son of God, come down." He saved others, why can't he save himself? But I was saving them, in that very moment. Above my head hung a sign, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." They meant it as mockery, but it was true. Dear diary, today the world went dark, and I gave my spirit to the Father. At noon the sky turned black, not from clouds, but from the weight of what was happening. The earth itself seemed to grieve. My strength was nearly gone. Every breath a battle. The pain was no longer just physical, it was spiritual. The weight of the world's sin pressed upon me. I cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" I had never felt separation from the Father, until now, but it was the price of redemption. I looked down and saw John. Beside him, my mother. I spoke to them, not with anger, not with despair, but with love. I entrusted them to one another. Then I knew. The end was near. I whispered the words, "It is finished." Not a cry of defeat, a declaration of victory. The work was done. Then I looked upward, my voice strained but certain. "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And I breathed my last. The earth shook. The temple curtain tore from top to bottom. Even a Roman centurion, hardened by violence, gasped in awe. Surely this man was the Son of God.